Hi, I'm John Schuyler, President for OLLI at SOU, and today I'm joined by Susan Stitham, and this is the Volunteer Spotlight. So, Susan, I have a series of questions I'm going to ask you, and the first one is, how long have you been an OLLI member?
Well, I've been an OLLI member here since before we came down the highway from Alaska in 2010. We joined because I'd been an OLLI member in Fairbanks at the University of Alaska Fairbanks OLLI. But after I retired from teaching in 2003 and discovered OLLI existed, and all these people that I had worked with, I thought they just died and went away somewhere, and there they all were, going to OLLI classes and having a great time. So I began to teach for the OLLI in Fairbanks, and then we signed up here because we were very excited that there was an OLLI here. And so before we even came, we were ready for taking classes. So I've been a member since 2010.
Okay. And when did you start volunteering and teaching?
In 2012, I started teaching, and
Okay.
um, and I've taught every term since then, with the exception of last spring when we went to Australia. That was my first break, and I felt terrible, but I just figured that the internet wouldn't work quite that well if I was on the other side of the
Yeah.
world, upside down. But it was great. Yeah, so I've been doing that, and then I got involved as a I ran for council. I was elected to council in 2013, I think. I was on council for a term, president at the end of that term. Then I was chair of curriculum, and then LDRC, and then back to curriculum, and then council again. And now I just love teaching. That's what I'm doing.
You're a great instructor. I've taken a number of your courses, and I hear from other people about your courses.
Well,
So,
thank you.
what would you call the high point of volunteering for Ollie?
Well, I think the yeah, well, every time volunteering for Ollie was part of how we got to know people here. And it's like come for the classes, stay for the connections. The connections are amazing. And when you move into a new place as a adult with no children in school and you don't have a job, you're like, well, how am I going to meet people? And I'd lived in Fairbanks for 43 years, and so it was like it's going to be hard. And it was through Ollie and our church Trinity that we all of our good friends came from that experience. And I think yes, you meet people in classes, but you really get to know people in volunteering. And I think our generation in particular really understands, and that's how my friends were in Fairbanks, is the people you've worked on projects that you care about together, for values you care about. That's how you make friendships. And so I think that's been one highlight. The second actual thing we accomplished is I was president when we did our first strategic plan for Ollie. They never had one. And that was a really major accomplishment, really helpful, I think, in moving Ollie out of the mom and pop world that we'd been in into a really very finely honed machine that works wonderfully and is a great gift for this community. The other part was when we found Heather. I was on council when we hired Heather, and she's terrific, and her energy. She's exactly half my age. I feel when she was hired, I thought, wow. And it was just wonderful. She's brought many gifts, and the other folks she's hired, Megan in particular. So, yeah, so those would be the highlights, I think. Um, and if I could just talk for a second about teaching and why I think teaching at Ollie is, there are many of us have been teachers in various positions in Fairbanks, Fairbanks, in Ashland and in Ollie, but the best parts of teaching are teaching at Ollie because you've got people who want to be there. They've chosen to be there. People are interested. There are so many fascinating people in this community, and they bring so much and enrich the classes. I always think about Mark Ratner, the late Mark Ratner, who was a longtime teacher here. And when I was first here, he had his 90th birthday. And he was teaching, and I just thought, wow, because at that point 90 was a long way away from me, and I thought that's amazing. And I heard him say, "My doctor tells me I have to keep teaching, or I'll die." And he taught until he was 96. And the year that he died that spring, he was still teaching, and he had course already approved for the fall of the next year. So he's my model as far as volunteering for Ollie. And the teachers at Ollie are incredible. It's a wonderful group to be part of.
Yeah, I agree. And that's a great story. I hope I can teach into my 90s.
It is, isn't it? And the thing I love, John, is also I was curriculum co-chair with Sarah Brown during the pandemic. And before the pandemic, Sarah had been saying to us, we really need to go online. And many of us were saying, "Oh no, line is it's a terrible thing. Nobody wants to go online. It's just terrible. We like to be in person." Well, then something happened in the world in March of 2020, and all of a sudden, boom, we were like, well, who knows how to go online? Well, in the spring, we had, if you may recall, a few people who did know some things and did some sort of wildcat classes for Ollie. But then the curriculum committee was like, okay, we're going to try to get teachers to teach online. And so we contacted to everybody, and 95 people agreed to try that. Old people who didn't know what they were doing. And we said, don't worry, we will help you teach online. And then we're saying to each other, what does that even mean? How do you teach online? So thank God for Lorraine Vale and others that knew these things. And 95 people. We had I think, the most teachers that fall of in all over the country for Ollies. We had 95 classes when most Ollies had like 20 that they were able to put together. So that's a tribute to our instructors and their resilience and their
And that online presence continues to this day.
It does. And I continue to teach a section because I feel an obligation to those people, some of my relatives, who signed up and joined OLLI from back east. And when we had all the classes available, they were delighted. And now, of course, but I'm very happy. I do as you may know, I do a in-person class, and I always do almost always do a online section because there are people in Ashland and in the Southern Road who don't want to put their pants on and come to class. And they like that option to be able to catch it. And I think it's great. And I'm
Yeah,
for it.
I do too. I enjoy both the online and in person. So speaking of in person, the next question, let's say you're at the Campbell Center and you meet someone there in the garden area and they're like, I think I want to volunteer, but I'm not sure. How would you coach? What would you tell that potential volunteer?
Tell them they would absolutely want to do it because it's gonna open up all kinds of opportunities for them. Friendships, as I said, contributing to something that you're benefiting from and that you really feel is a huge asset to our community and our demographic. And I think I would encourage them to see what it is that they really like to do. I think the recent list that's been put together to explain, how do you find something that you would like to do, something that gives you pleasure and joy, and that you can do as a gift, and with other people who share that with you. And there are lots of folks who are eager to talk to volunteers and encourage them in those areas. I would say don't hesitate for a minute.
So the final question is anything else you want to share?
Um, I think Ashland and the Southern Rogue Valley, because I think I'm teaching a class this term up at the Manor. Wow, amazing technology, lovely people. People from the north are liking it, and some people are actually packing a lunch and going all the way up from Ashland to Medford, the whole 11 miles, and taking the in-person class. And I think again, trying to appeal to the folks in the northern part of our county and area is good because there are lots of people up there that would love to do that. I think that I would encourage us to continue to look into that. Ollie to look into that. But I think getting involved in Ollie is just an enriching experience, and the values of Ollie are, I think the values that really many of us share: lifelong learning. The folks who live in this area, I like to call them FIPs, formerly important people. This is an incredible number of people with rich, varied lives that they had as professionals that are willing to share them with the rest of us in Ollie. And so it's worth keeping it going. And I hope people will be encouraged by that.
Our membership numbers look good. We're recovering
Great.
from the pandemic. I think we're going to hit 1,900 this year,
Excellent. Excellent.
and hopefully
Yeah,
in a year or two we get over that 2,000 mark.
we'll be back to where we were. Yeah. I think interestingly about the pandemic, which isn't the topic of your conversation, but I think it was interesting how most of us thought that after it was over, we just snapped back like a rubber band to where we were before. And everything has changed. And Ollie, of course, like every other institution, has had to adapt. And I think has done very, very well at doing that. Again, because of the resilience of our leadership, such as yourself, people willing to be on council.
Right,
Appreciate
and
it.
yourself too.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you, Susan, for taking some time and talking to us about your experience as a member, as an instructor, as a volunteer, as a leader. It's much
Thank you, John.
appreciated.
Thank you very much. Take
All
care.
right, you too.